Dear brothers and sisters, today I am honored to reflect on a topic that lies at the heart of our faith and our understanding of the world, the Catholic intellectual tradition. In this tradition, we find not only the richness of our beliefs, but also the foundation upon which we can build a more just, compassionate, and loving society. The Catholic intellectual tradition is not just a series of thoughts or ideas. It is a living, breathing journey of discovery, wisdom, and truth that invites us all to seek, to question, and to grow. Before we begin, I kindly ask you to take a moment to engage with this space of learning and inspiration. Please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting the bell icon so that you can stay connected with us in the future. Share this with your family and friends so we can continue to grow together in faith, hope, and wisdom. Thank you for your support as we walk this beautiful journey together. The theme of the speech is the Catholic intellectual tradition, focusing on the richness and depth of Catholic thought, the harmony between faith and reason, and the call to live out intellectual pursuits with humility, service, and a commitment to human dignity. The speech highlights how this tradition guides us to seek truth, engage with other cultures, and transform knowledge into actions that serve others, especially the marginalized. It is a call to use intellectual growth not for personal glory, but to live out God's love in the world. Faith and reason are two essential pillars of the human experience, and when properly understood, they work together in harmony to guide us toward deeper truths. Too often, we think of faith and reason as being in conflict with each other, as if they are opposing forces. But this is a misunderstanding that does not reflect the reality of the Catholic intellectual tradition. Instead, faith and reason complement one another, each enriching and deepening the other. Faith, in its truest sense, is not blind acceptance or an abandonment of reason. It is a conscious choice to trust in the God who has revealed himself to us, and in the truths that he has made known. Faith invites us into a relationship with God, where we believe not just in his existence, but in his love, wisdom, and providence. It calls us to understand the world through the lens of his grace, seeing his hand in the natural order, in the beauty of creation, and in the moral law written on our hearts. Faith asks us to open our hearts to the divine mystery and allow God's truth to touch our lives in a profound way. Reason, on the other hand, is the gift of intellect and understanding. It is our God-given ability to examine the world around us, to question, to investigate, and to seek answers. Reason allows us to comprehend the complexities of life, from the natural sciences to the depths of human experience. It enables us to study the world, to engage with ideas, and to seek truth wherever it may lead us. Reason, when guided by the light of faith, helps us to make sense of the world and our place within it, offering us the tools to better understand the mysteries of existence. The Catholic tradition teaches us that these two, faith and reason, are not contradictory, but mutually supportive. Faith does not ask us to reject reason, and reason does not diminish the need for faith. On the contrary, faith elevates reason, providing it with a greater purpose and direction. Through the lens of faith, reason can uncover deeper insights into the mysteries of life. Conversely, Reason enriches faith by allowing us to better understand and articulate the truths of our belief. Together, faith and reason lead us to a fuller understanding of the world and of God's plan for humanity. This harmony between faith and reason is not just an intellectual exercise, it is a way of life. When we allow both to guide us, we become better equipped to navigate the complexities of the world. Faith inspires us to seek the truth with humility, knowing that we are searching not for something arbitrary, but for something that has meaning and purpose. Reason, in turn, helps us to discern the path that faith calls us to walk, enabling us to make informed, thoughtful decisions that reflect God's love and wisdom. In our lives as Catholics, we are called to live with both faith and reason, allowing them to shape our actions, our thoughts, and our relationships. Our intellectual pursuits, whether in science, philosophy, or theology, should not be divorced from our spiritual life, but should be seen as part of a greater whole. By integrating faith and reason, we can discover the fullness of truth and find the path that leads us to a deeper relationship with God and a more just and compassionate world. The pursuit of truth is one of the most noble callings to which we, as human beings, can aspire. In the depths of our hearts, there is a profound desire to know, to understand, and to grasp the reality of the world around us. It is this innate longing for truth that drives our intellectual endeavors, our search for meaning, and our quest to understand the mysteries of life. The pursuit of truth is not merely a matter of acquiring knowledge for its own sake, but is, at its core, a spiritual and moral journey. It is a path that leads us to a deeper understanding of ourselves, the world, and ultimately God. In the Catholic intellectual tradition, truth is not seen as an abstract concept or a mere collection of facts. Rather, truth is understood as something far deeper and more profound. It is ultimately embodied in the person of Jesus Christ. Jesus, who proclaimed himself as the way, the truth, and the life, reveals that truth is not just something we find through intellectual exploration. It is something that is intimately tied to our relationship with Him. The pursuit of truth, therefore, is not simply an intellectual exercise. It is a journey that brings us closer to Christ, the source of all truth. This noble pursuit requires us to look beyond surface-level understanding and to engage with reality at a deeper level. It challenges us to ask questions, to seek answers, and to be unafraid of confronting difficult or uncomfortable truths. Whether in the realm of science, philosophy, theology, or social justice, the pursuit of truth demands that we not shy away from the complexities and challenges of life. It calls us to be courageous in our questioning and humble in our acceptance of the answers we find, knowing that truth often unfolds slowly and requires patience, reflection, and discernment. As we seek truth, we must also remember that it is not always easy to find. The world is filled with distractions, misinformation, and confusion, and sometimes the pursuit of truth can feel overwhelming or disheartening. Yet, even in the face of these challenges, we are called to persist. The search for truth is a lifelong endeavor, one that requires dedication, perseverance, and a willingness to grow in wisdom. It is not a pursuit that we undertake in isolation, but one that is deeply communal. We are invited to engage with others, to learn from different perspectives, and to contribute our own insights in the shared quest for understanding. Moreover, the pursuit of truth is inherently linked to our moral responsibility. As we come to know the truth, we are called to live according to it. Truth is not a mere academic exercise, it has real-world implications. It calls us to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. The more we discover about the world, the more we realize our duty to care for the poor, the oppressed, and the marginalized. Truth must be lived out through our actions, and it must transform us into people of integrity, compassion, and service. As we engage in this noble calling, we must also recognize that our understanding of truth is not always complete. We are finite, and our capacity to grasp the fullness of truth is limited. Yet, in our pursuit, we are not left alone. God, in His infinite wisdom, continues to guide us through His Spirit, leading us into deeper truth and understanding. Through prayer, contemplation, and study, we open ourselves to the divine revelation that is always present and active in our lives. In this way, the pursuit of truth becomes a spiritual journey, one that invites us to grow in both knowledge and holiness. In the end, the pursuit of truth is a reflection of our deepest desires and our highest calling. It is the search for the very meaning of life, and in that search, we come closer to understanding God's plan for us and for the world. The truth we seek is not always easy to grasp, but it is worth the effort. It shapes us, transforms us, and calls us to be people of justice, compassion, and love. Through our pursuit of truth, we can become instruments of peace and agents of positive change in a world that so desperately needs the light of truth to guide it. May we always be inspired by the noble calling to seek truth, and may it lead us to the fullness of life in Christ. The dignity of the human person is a foundational principle of Catholic teaching, and one of the most profound truths embedded in our faith. It is a principle that lies at the heart of our understanding of humanity, guiding how we view ourselves, our relationships with others, and the way we engage with the world. In recognizing the dignity of every person, we are acknowledging that each human being is created in the image and likeness of God, endowed with inherent worth and value. This truth stands in stark contrast to any philosophy or ideology that diminishes the sanctity of human life or reduces individuals to mere objects or commodities. At its core, the dignity of the human person is not something that is earned or bestowed by others. It is intrinsic, rooted in the very act of creation. From the moment of conception, each individual possesses a unique and sacred value, irrespective of their social status, achievements, abilities, or circumstances. This truth calls us to look beyond the surface, beyond a person's appearance, their material wealth, their social standing, or their past, and to recognize the inherent worth of each individual. No matter where someone comes from, what they've done, or what they lack, their dignity remains untouchable because it is rooted in the love of God who created them. This understanding of human dignity requires a radical shift in how we approach others. It calls us to treat every person with the respect, kindness, and compassion that is due to someone made in God's image. It challenges us to move beyond our natural inclinations to judge or dismiss others based on external criteria, such as their race, gender, socioeconomic status, or personal history. The dignity of the human person teaches us that every individual, regardless of their background or circumstances, is deserving of love and respect. It also calls us to act with empathy and compassion, particularly toward those who are most vulnerable and marginalized, those who are often overlooked or oppressed by society. In a world that often reduces people to their achievements, their appearance, or their productivity, the Catholic teaching on human dignity stands as a profound reminder that our worth is not determined by what we do, but by who we are. Our dignity is not defined by our work, our possessions, or the roles we play in society. It is defined by our very being, by the fact that we are children of God. This truth speaks powerfully to the need for social justice, for the protection of the most vulnerable, and for the promotion of human rights. It is a call to build a society where every person is valued for who they are, where the weak and the marginalized are given a voice, and where justice and love are at the center of every interaction. The dignity of the human person also has deep implications for how we view ourselves. It calls us to recognize our own worth, not because of our accomplishments or status, but because we are loved by God. In a world that often encourages self-criticism and comparison, the truth of our dignity frees us to embrace who we truly are, with all our imperfections and weaknesses, knowing that God sees us as precious and beloved. This self-recognition of dignity does not lead to pride or arrogance, but to humility and gratitude. When we understand that our value is not based on what we can do, but on who we are in God's eyes, we are freed from the pressures to perform or to meet the expectations of others. Instead, we can live with peace and joy, knowing that we are loved unconditionally by our Creator. This understanding of human dignity also calls us to act as stewards of one another's dignity. We are not only responsible for upholding our own dignity, but for recognizing and protecting the dignity of others. This responsibility extends to how we engage with people in our families, our communities, our workplaces, and beyond. It calls us to advocate for those whose dignity is threatened or diminished, whether through poverty, discrimination, violence, or exploitation. In our daily lives, we can foster a culture of dignity by treating others with kindness, speaking with respect, and standing up for justice when it is threatened. Ultimately, the dignity of the human person is a call to live in harmony with the truth of who we are and the truth of who others are. It is an invitation to live in a way that reflects the love of God, love that sees beyond outward appearances and recognizes the eternal worth of each person. By embracing and honoring the dignity of every individual, we participate in the creation of a more just and compassionate world. We make the world a reflection of God's kingdom, where each person is valued, loved, and respected. In this way, the dignity of the human person is not just an abstract concept. It is a lived reality that must shape every aspect of our lives, our relationships, and our actions. In a world that often forgets or neglects the dignity of others, let us be people who honor and defend the worth of every human being. Let our hearts be filled with compassion, and let our actions be a reflection of the infinite dignity bestowed upon us by our Creator. Through this, we can help build a world where every person's inherent worth is recognized, celebrated, and protected. Dialogue and openness to other cultures are fundamental aspects of the Catholic faith, grounded in the understanding that all people, regardless of their backgrounds or beliefs, are made in the image and likeness of God. This openness to dialogue is not merely an intellectual exercise, but a profound invitation to engage with others, to listen, learn, and grow together in mutual respect. It is a call to break down barriers of division and to build bridges of understanding that reflect the universal love of God. At the heart of the Catholic tradition is a recognition that truth and wisdom are not the sole property of any one culture, religion, or tradition. Rather, they are found in many places and across many peoples. Throughout history, the Church has always valued the richness of different cultures, recognizing that each culture offers unique insights into the human experience, and that by engaging with one another, we can deepen our understanding of the truth. This openness to diversity is rooted in the example of Jesus, who, throughout his ministry, engaged with people from all walks of life, rich and poor, Jew and Gentile, sinner and saint, and revealed God's love to all without distinction. In today's increasingly interconnected world, this openness to dialogue becomes even more crucial. The globalized nature of our society brings people from all corners of the earth into closer proximity, and it challenges us to learn how to coexist, collaborate, and respect one another. However, in many parts of the world, cultural differences have led to division, conflict, and misunderstanding. In such a context, the Church's call to dialogue is both urgent and timely. It is a call to listen, not just to hear the words of others, but to truly understand their experiences, their values, and their beliefs. To engage in dialogue is to open our hearts and minds to the richness of others' perspectives, to see the world from their point of view, and to seek common ground based on mutual respect. Dialogue, as the Church understands it, is not a mere exchange of ideas, but a deep, respectful engagement that seeks to build relationships. It is about entering into a conversation where both sides are willing to be transformed. It is not about one group imposing its views upon another, but about walking together on a shared journey, learning from one another and discovering new truths. In dialogue, there is no room for pride or arrogance, but only humility and a willingness to listen and to learn. This kind of dialogue fosters peace, understanding, and reconciliation, and it is through this openness that we build a more just and compassionate world. The Catholic Church's commitment to dialogue extends not only to other Christian denominations, but to people of all faiths and cultures. It is a call to engage with those who may not share our beliefs, but who nonetheless seek meaning, purpose, and truth. In a pluralistic world, the Church encourages us to approach people of other faiths with respect and understanding, to celebrate the common humanity we share, and to work together for the common good. This dialogue is not about compromising our beliefs, but about finding ways to live together in peace and harmony, respecting each other's differences while working toward the shared goal of justice and human dignity. This openness to other cultures and faiths is also an invitation to learn from the many diverse traditions that exist around the world. Each culture carries its own wisdom, values, and ways of seeing the world, and the Church recognizes that these contributions are important and valuable. Whether it is the art, music, philosophy, or spiritual practices of a particular culture, each has something to offer that enriches the global community. When we engage with other cultures, we are invited to see the beauty in their diversity and to recognize that God's love transcends any one culture or nation. Through this openness, we begin to see the face of God reflected in every person, in every culture, and in every tradition. Furthermore, dialogue and openness to other cultures are deeply connected to the Church's mission of evangelization. Evangelization is not about imposing our faith on others, but about sharing the love of God in a way that respects the dignity and freedom of every person. In a world where people often feel alienated or disconnected, the Catholic Church's message of love, peace, and reconciliation is a beacon of hope. By engaging in meaningful dialogue with others, we create spaces where the gospel can be shared in a way that is compassionate, non-judgmental, and respectful of cultural differences. Through dialogue, the gospel becomes a message of unity, bringing people together to build a world where peace and justice reign. It is important to remember that this openness to other cultures does not mean abandoning our own traditions or beliefs. Rather, it means being secure enough in our own faith and identity to engage with others in a way that is both respectful and loving. Our own faith and culture can be strengthened and enriched through dialogue as we gain new perspectives and insights that help us better understand the world around us. At the same time, our own tradition remains a source of light and truth, guiding us in our interactions with others and reminding us of the values of love, justice, and mercy that are at the heart of the gospel. In conclusion, dialogue and openness to other cultures are not just ideals. They are practices that must shape our daily lives. They are a call to move beyond fear and suspicion, to reach out to others with compassion and understanding, and to recognize the dignity and value of every person, regardless of their background or beliefs. In a world that is often divided, this openness is a powerful force for unity, peace, and reconciliation. Through dialogue, we not only enrich our own understanding of the world, but we also build a more just and harmonious society, one where the love of God is reflected in our relationships with one another. The call to action and service is one of the most fundamental aspects of Christian life, especially within the Catholic tradition. It is not merely a suggestion or a passive ideal. It is a deep and abiding invitation to live out our faith in concrete, tangible ways. This call is rooted in the example of Jesus Christ, who came not to be served, but to serve, and who demonstrated through his life, death, and resurrection that true greatness is found in humility and self-giving love. The call to action and service is not a task to be checked off a list, but a way of life that reflects the love of God and the love of neighbor. At the heart of this call is the recognition that our faith is not meant to be kept in isolation. It is not something to be practiced privately, in a way that only affects our own lives. Rather, our faith is meant to be lived in community, and it demands that we actively engage with the world around us. Service, in this context, becomes a response to the needs of others, a response to the brokenness and suffering that exists in our world. It is not merely about doing good deeds or fulfilling obligations. It is about participating in the work of God, bringing healing and hope to those who are most in need. The call to action and service challenges us to move beyond a comfortable, self-centered life and to step into the struggles of others. It calls us to go beyond our own immediate concerns and to take seriously the suffering of those around us, whether they are in our own communities, our country, or around the world. Service is about recognizing that we are all interconnected, that the pain of one is the pain of all, and that the joy of one is the joy of all. In this way, our service is not only a response to the needs of others, but it also deepens our own understanding of our shared humanity. Through service, we learn what it means to love our neighbor as ourselves, to extend compassion to those who are suffering, and to bring dignity to those who are often overlooked or marginalized. Service also teaches us humility. In a world that often values success, power, and wealth, the act of serving others reminds us of what is truly important. It calls us to recognize that our worth is not measured by our material success or social status, but by our ability to love and serve others. This humility is not a denial of our talents or strengths, but rather a recognition that everything we have is a gift from God, and that these gifts are meant to be shared for the good of others. The more we serve, the more we are reminded of our dependence on God and the interconnectedness of all people. We begin to see that true greatness is not in receiving, but in giving. It is not in accumulating wealth or status, but in pouring ourselves out for the benefit of others. This call to action is also a call to justice. Service is not simply about providing temporary relief to those in need. It is about addressing the root causes of suffering and injustice in the world. It challenges us to ask difficult questions about the systems and structures that perpetuate poverty, inequality, and oppression. It invites us to confront the injustices that exist in our societies, whether they are related to race, gender, class, or religion, and to work for a world where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. This aspect of service requires courage and commitment, as it often involves standing up against powerful forces that seek to maintain the status quo. But it is precisely in this action for justice that we align ourselves with the heart of the gospel, which calls us to love our neighbor in ways that seek not just temporary relief, but long-term transformation. Furthermore, the call to service is a call to personal growth and spiritual maturity. It is through our acts of service that we come to understand the true nature of love. Service allows us to grow in compassion, empathy, and understanding, helping us to see the world from the perspective of those who are suffering. It helps us to break free from our own self-centeredness and to develop a heart that is attuned to the needs of others. Service is also a means of sanctification, as it is through serving others that we are transformed into the image of Christ. In giving of ourselves, we participate in the divine work of redemption, becoming instruments of God's love and grace in the world. The more we serve, the more we become like Christ, humble, self-sacrificial, and loving. This call to action and service also has a communal dimension. While individual acts of service are important, the Christian life is not one that can be lived in isolation. We are called to work together as members of the body of Christ to address the needs of the world. Service is most effective when it is done in collaboration with others, when communities come together to support one another and to work toward the common good. This sense of solidarity reminds us that we are not isolated individuals, but part of a larger family, the human family, and that our actions have a ripple effect on the lives of others. Working together in service, we can accomplish much more than we could on our own, and we can bring about real change in the world. Finally, the call to service is not a one-time action, but a lifelong commitment. It is a daily choice to live in accordance with the gospel, to put the needs of others before our own, and to work for a world that reflects God's love and justice. This commitment is not always easy, and it requires perseverance, sacrifice, and dedication. But it is precisely in this constant giving of ourselves that we find fulfillment and joy. Service is not something that drains us or leaves us empty. Rather, it is through serving others that we find our true purpose and meaning. In giving, we receive. In loving, we are loved. In conclusion, the call to action and service is a profound invitation to live the gospel in the world. It is a call to move beyond ourselves, to recognize the dignity of every person, to work for justice, and to love as Christ loved. Through service, we not only transform the world, but we also transform ourselves, growing in humility, compassion, and holiness. May we answer this call with open hearts, willing to serve, to sacrifice, and to give of ourselves for the good of others, knowing that in doing so, we are fulfilling the very purpose for which we were created. Dear friends, as we stand on the shoulders of the great Catholic thinkers and saints who have come before us, let us embrace this intellectual tradition with both reverence and courage. May we always seek to grow in knowledge, but more importantly, may we use that knowledge to love, to serve, and to bring about a more just and compassionate world. Let us be fearless in our pursuit of truth, ever mindful of our responsibility to our brothers and sisters, and filled with the joy that comes from knowing that, in all things, we are united by the love of God. May God bless you, and may the light of His wisdom guide us on this beautiful journey of faith and understanding.